Hi everyone. I had some quilting to do to get ready for this project that I'm working on. So it's a little, I call it an Easter Busket. And it'll be on Miss LoreensSchoolhouse channel for the Saturday Sew on February 27th. So you can check it out there because once it's, it's going live, but after that it'll be there forever. And I'm doing the bottom of the busket first, which is round. And I'm using foam instead of batting or interfacing, and because I wanted that sturdiness. So you can use Bossal foam, B-O-S-A-L foam. And also Annie's have it, I believe it's soft and stable. And they use it a lot in bag making. And it's it's thicker, but it's very easy to sew through. So I have my template from my bottom of my bag. And normally I'm using the scrap that I have, but normally I would be an inch and a half all the way around bigger than what I need. I'd say an inch and a half is good. And I'm going to draw using a friction pen. And if you use a friction pen, you want to make sure you test your fabric, because friction pen wasn't made for fabric, it was made for paper. You can use a chalk, you can use a water-soluble. This is an air erase pen, which means you don't want to draw on it today and not work on it till tomorrow. It won't be there anymore. So whichever one works for you and works best for the fabric that you're using. So I'm just going to draw around with this template because I want an idea, since my fabric is bigger, I wanted an idea of exactly where my quilting is going to be. I don't want to be off center, off kilter. So let me just, okay, I can see it. So I'm not sure if you can see it, but, oh, there it is. So I just drew around so I know where my actual quilting needs to be. You could spray this pin base, that I find with foam, it doesn't really let go of the fabric. So it's up to you. As few pins is possible in your way, and spray base. You could hand stitch base, whatever one works for you. So I'm going to get my ruler, and I did say make sure you test your pen if you're going to use it on fabric. I wouldn't use it on a batik. I'm going to start at one end as opposed to in the middle, because I want to make sure that I get some quilting lines down near the edge of my circle, because I don't want this fabric flopping around. So I just put here's my little line, and my circle is right above it. So maybe ½ inch or so. And then I'm going to go 2 inches. I'm using this Creative Grids ruler, and you'll find with Creative Grids that one side is marked with black circles, one with white circles. The black circles is the ½ inch side, the white circles is the whole inch side. So I want to make sure I'm not using the wrong side. And I'm going to make 2 inch marks. And I'm making mine a little darker so that you can see them when I hold it up. You would want to make yours, fairly light, because you want whatever you're using for, I made that one too light. Whatever you're using, chalk or water-soluble, whatever you're using for a marking pen, you don't want to spend the day, getting the marks off. So mark it just enough so you can see it. And now when I got down to this end, I'm going to show you, I'm going to mark it. So there's my marks, 2 inches, but 2 inches would take me off. But I'm going to put a little mark right there because I want to sew a little bit. That'll be in the seam allowance so that this fabric doesn't flop around when I'm actually making the busket. Then I'm going to turn in the other direction. So now my lines are horizontal. I'm going to line up my ruler with those lines. And I'm going to start over at the end again. It really doesn't matter where. I just start near the end so I remember to have stitching there. And I just turn it around. And again, I'm going to go 2 inches, but I also want to make sure that I'm lining up with the lines I already drew. So I lined up vertically with the line I just drew for the 2 inches, and then horizontally for the lines that are going in the other direction. And your lines can go out past your area that you're going to quilt. There's nothing wrong with that. And I'm going to do that little line again out at the edge. So you can see I made a little line out at the edge, and my circle is just above it. So you can probably see it better here. I have that line, and there's my circle. Okay, so I'm going to be using a walking foot. And let me just switch over to the sewing machine. I'm using a walking foot. Different machines have different types of walking foot. This is a plug-in one. It's an electric one. Whatever your machine takes is fine. I'm using an 80-12 top stitch needle. A quilting needle is for piecing, not for quilting. So I use a top stitch needle. And 80-12 works for most things. I am quilting with just regular sewing thread today. I have regular sewing thread in my bobbin. In my bobbin, I'm using like a pink variegated in the top. I got white in the bottom because it's not going to show. It's going to be on my foam. Your foam or your batting is always going to be on the face down, because the feed dogs for the machine will help feed that through well. On my machine stitch length, my normal length is 2.5 for sewing. Because of this thickness and the look, I think I'm going to go to, I normally would go to a 3, but in this case, I think I'm going to go to a 3.5 because the foam is a little thicker. And when it's thicker, whatever you're going through is thicker, it makes the stitches smaller because it's using up the thread for that thickness. And so that's going to be a personal preference thing of what stitch length you want. You don't want it too tight when it's thicker. I'm going to start with a middle line. And I'm just going to be following the line. So the center of my foot has a split in it, so I can see that line going right through the middle, and my needle will fall right on the line. When you use a walking foot, you might find it's a little different because it's going to be pulling the fabric along with or without you. We've come down. I'm going to turn, and I want to go back up the other direction. Now, normally on something this small, that wouldn't matter so much, but it would on something bigger, so you might as well just have the habit of doing it that way all the time. And you can stitch outside of your template line, your template circle, if you're doing a template circle. So you can start and stop outside of your template if you want to, the template circle if you're doing a circle. We don't have to lock the stitches because it's going to get cut anyway. And sometimes if you lose track, if you were going up or down, this direction or the other direction, don't worry about it. Just do what it is and then do the next one the opposite way. Okay, and let's see. I got one more little line out here at the end. And normally I would be holding this with 2 hands, but I'm trying to keep my hands out of your way. And now I'm just going to go in the other direction, and now I'm going to start near the center again. So here's how I would normally be with my hands. And I'm kind of making sure the fabric stays nice and smooth. If you don't have a walking foot, you can try without. It really depends on what machine it is. It just makes it much smoother because the walking foot is pulling the top fabric where the feed dogs down underneath here are pulling the bottom. Now I forgot if I turned or not, so I'm going to go ahead and go. And then I'll just turn on the next one. Okay, so let me get this finished up and I'll show you how it looks in a minute, and I'll get the next section ready to mark. Okay, so we got the quilting done, and remember I used the friction pen to heat away, so I did all my heat away, and then remembered I heated away or ironed away the lines for the template, so I just put it back on again and cut it and drew the lines and cut it. It's no big deal. So this would be if you're quilting and you want it in squares. So I'm going to go ahead and get the other piece ready, and I'm going to do that crosshatch, like diamonds. Yeah, diamonds. I was thinking triangles, but it's diamonds. So just give me a minute. Okay, so now I've got my long piece to my Easter basket, and I want to do those crosshatch. I'm trying to remember if I did that the first time. Yeah, so see how? So if you hold the circle this way, it squares, and that's crosshatch. But if you turn the circle in another direction, it's crosshatch. That's why I was saying on your circle, it doesn't really matter, because it depends how you look at it. So we're going to be doing this crosshatch, which again, you can see the squares, except we're going to be going on the angle. I'm going to start at the center, and I'm going to work a few in each direction so that you can see how it works, how to mark it, and then I'll finish marking it, and then we'll go ahead and sew. So when I'm marking it, I want to look on my ruler, and I want to find my 45-degree line. And I want to run that 45-degree line. Let me see if I can get, there we go. I want to run that 45-degree line along here. Okay? Now, if your ruler might not be long enough, you can get a longer ruler. That 45-degree line doesn't have to be at the edge of this fabric. It just has to be parallel with the edge of the fabric. So if I needed to move my ruler up, you can see my line is right there. You see it right here. I just wanted an even, equal distance from that edge. So I don't necessarily have to have it at the edge of the fabric. If you do, that makes you feel better, and that's fine. And you need more ruler, add another ruler onto this one. Okay? So I'm just going to, and I just have to get that first line. And I'm going to make it extra dark there. Oh, well, I thought I was making it extra dark. There it is. And now I can just turn this any way. I'm gonna have the exact, the ruler doesn't have to be on the 45, though it will remain that way, but you don't have to have that line at the edge. So you can see the 45 line is here, and you can see that it's parallel. But I'm 2 inches from my last line, so if I just put my ruler down on the last line, I would automatically be at that 45-degree angle. So let me draw a few lines. And if I need to, again, I'll come out to that edge. So I'll go out to this edge. We'll work down this end. And I'm just moving the ruler that 2 inches and keeping it in line. I can see my 45 now. See, it's way up here, but it's still parallel to that bottom edge. And I'm going to be good now with my two inch increments. I am coming up to this edge, and that's close enough. I'm not going to worry about this little piece. So let me draw one more line in the other direction. And I don't mean other direction, I mean going to the left instead of the right, or the right instead of the left, whichever it is for you. Okay, and I'm going to do that the rest of the way. Now, when you get that done, now we've got to draw lines in the opposite direction. So our 45's going the other way. It's not a concern for us anymore, because all we have to do is, let me get that down. All we have to do is, so our lines are now drawn to your left. Now I want to draw lines going to the right. Okay? So what I've done is, the lines on the ruler this way, across the ruler, are going to be lined up with the lines I've already drawn. And I'm just going to pick a place to start. Okay, and I just have to turn around because my lines are going in the other direction. And I'll hold it up in a minute. So again, now I'm going to place my ruler, the length of my ruler line, on the line I just drew with 2 inches over, and my horizontal lines going across my ruler are on the lines that I previously drew. And let me draw a couple of them. So again, I want to check to make sure the line I just drew, I've got the 2 inch mark, and the lines going across the ruler are lined up with the lines I drew previously. And I'll hold it up and you'll see in a second. And you notice I'm just sliding my ruler down if I need it to be longer. But let me draw one more this way. Okay, so now you can see, there's my crosshatch. So we first drew lines in going to the left, and then we drew lines angling to the right. And now we'll have to stitch. I'm going to go ahead and get this finished up, and then I'll do a little stitching with you. Okay, so I've got it all marked up and ready to go. Oh, forgot one. Or I forgot one whole section, I guess. So there we are. So now let's do some stitching together. I'm going to start near the middle. Doesn't have to be the exact middle. And I'm going to do the same exact stitching that I did with the circle. So I'm going to go down. Then I'm just going to come right over to this next one and go back up. Making sure I keep my fabric nice and smooth. And I will just continue doing that until I have all my quilting done. I'll come back over to the work table. Once I have all my quilting done, because remember this is going to be a little bigger, an inch all the way around, at least bigger than what I want. Once I have it all quilted and pressed and everything, then I will go ahead and cut out the exact size of whatever project I'm working on. Placemat, mud rug, whatever, quilt, whatever you're doing, bag, not a quilt, but whatever you're doing. So remember, no fabric on the back, because this is a project where the lining is going to be separate, okay? So marking would be the same as if you were doing a quilt, except you'd have your fabric on the back, right side facing out. So I hope this helps you out a little bit. Let me turn it around so it's facing the right way too. I hope this helps you out a little bit with quilting or getting quilting fabric ready for any of your projects. And we'll see you soon.